Welcome everybody to the Honours in Medical Sciences Showcase. My name's Carol Dobson-Stone and I'll be going through the info session today. So just to let you know, this session is being recorded, so we'll be able to give you a recording of the slides to anyone who registered at the Eventbrite link. We'll be able to do that later this week. And firstly, before we get into the session, I'd like to do acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. Today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. This land was never ceded, and I pay my respects to those who have cared and continue to care for country. So now, before we get into the meat of the information session, I'd like to introduce Professor Mary Collins, who's head of the School of Medical Sciences, just to give you a short introduction to Honours in Medical Sciences.
Thank you, Carol. And I too like to acknowledge the land at which we are meeting today, the land of the Gadigal people, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I'd like to welcome you, students and staff, to this showcase. It's been a really exciting time for me. I've only been in the school for 8 months, so this is a really exciting time for me too, in order to be able to see what everybody is doing in the research. So it's a great pleasure to have you this afternoon. It is really an opportunity for you to explore the great science that we have here in the School of Medical Sciences, and I really mean that it is great science. By enrolling in honours, it provides you with a taste of what research in the school can be like. And it opens doors to a number of career options, including the research pathway through a PhD. It allows you to get into medicine, dentistry, and many of the professional degrees that we have here in the Faculty of Medicine and Health. It gives you an edge for jobs in the pharmaceutical industry and in other sort of areas that you would like to go into. And there's so much to choose from in terms of research. When we go outside, you can see all the posters by honours students and by staff that are showing you really just a piece of the research that they are doing. So look around and ask questions. There's so much there. There's stuff from data science to neuroscience to immunology to biomaterials, and the list goes on. I can't say everything because there's so much of it. There are so many techniques that you can learn through the honours, and we're looking here at, you know, the omics, so metabolomics, genomics, and so on, and microscopy, electrophysiology, molecular biology, data mining. There's so much out there for you to choose. And so it's really hard, I suppose, to make some choices. So what I'd like you to do is go around, talk to the honours students that are there, talk to the supervisors who are there, ask as many questions as you want. What's honours like in this group? How do I get supported? All of the questions that will help you make a choice of who would you like to do honours with in 2024. And with that, I say, enjoy the afternoon, and I look forward to speaking to some of you as well. Thanks, Carol.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mary. So this is the schedule for today. You are currently in the honours information session in the Messel Lecture Theatre. And then this will last until about 2:15 p.m. And then at 2:15, we'll have the networking session. So that's where the opportunity where you get to see all those research posters that you see outside. And there'll be 2 sessions of current students that will be presenting their posters. And there's also quite a few supervisors who are here today. And so you'll be able to chat to them as well. And they're out in the foyer area. And we're providing afternoon tea. So there'll be catering downstairs on this level, just outside in the foyer. And also if you go upstairs, there should be another station for afternoon tea there. Okay, so let's introduce the honours area admissions coordinators. As I said, I'm Carol Dobson-Stone. There are 3 of us in the honours working group looking after students during the admissions process. And we divide our work up according to the honours discipline for the project that you select. So I'll be looking after students who have chosen projects in cell and developmental biology, in medicinal chemistry, in neuroscience, and in pharmacology. We also have Dr. Mark Lawrence, who is up at the back there. Hi, Mark. And he will be dealing with students who have chosen projects in immunology, infectious diseases, and pathology. And we also have Associate Professor Liz Clark, who is out in the foyer area at the moment, but she is here today. And she looks after students who choose projects in the applied medical sciences, anatomy and histology, and physiology disciplines. So if you have any general queries that don't relate to a specific project, or if you're just not sure who to contact, please get in touch with us at the soms.honours email address you see here, and our admin team will be able to triage your request to the appropriate admissions coordinator to speak to. So there are a few pathways to study honours in medical sciences, or SOMS honours, as we often call it. So I just thought we'd go through the main pathways. So if you are currently enrolled in the Bachelor of Sciences and Bachelor of Advanced Studies double degree, the vast majority of you will just simply continue on in your 4th year and incorporate honours into that 4th year. A few students may choose to exit the degree to get with a Bachelor of Sciences only, and then do appended honours, so Bachelor of Sciences honours. And if you're doing Bachelor of Science degree already, and that includes people who are doing the Bachelor of Science in the Medical Sciences program, then you should be applying for the Bachelor of Science honours. There is a 3rd minor pathway, and that is Bachelor of Medical Sciences honours. I realise that some of this nomenclature is a bit confusing. If you're confused about which to apply for, please do ask us for help. But this, the B Med-Sci honours is only for people who did the B Med-Sci degree. That degree's been discontinued now, I think in 2018. So only a very few students should be picking that pathway. So to do the honours within the Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Advanced Studies program, the requirements are that you're already enrolled in that 4-year degree, that you are on course to complete your double major with 144 credit points completed by the end of semester 2, 2023, and that one major should be in the School of Medical Sciences, and ideally align with the proposed project that you want to do. You also need to have a final WAM of at least 65. And most importantly, you need to have contacted a supervisor advertising an honours project in SOMS, and they have agreed to host you in their research group. For Bachelor of Science honours, it's very similar. The WAM requirement and the supervisor requirement's the same. So it's just your undergraduate degree, basically. So if you have the Bachelor of Science degree or equivalent, and that includes non-Sydney University students with an equivalent degree, and you need to be on course to either have completed your degree already or on course to complete your degree with 144 credit points by the end of semester 2, 2023. There are some more details on this at that website there, just giving you a general overview of applying for honours in science. So there are multiple different pathways to get into SOMS honours. Once you get there, the honours programme is the same, but what does it actually involve? Now, all of you are either current or previous students, and you know so far what being a student at a university is like. You go to lectures, you go to seminars, you go to tutorials, you take notes, you do assignments that are set for you and you hand them in, and you do exams. Well, the honours year is completely different to that. For the majority of your time will be taken up doing a self-directed research project conducted entirely by you, led entirely by you, from around March time to around November time. And then, and so as well as that research project, and you'll be assessed for two assignments that together contribute 75% of your final mark. You will also be doing some coursework with units that are designed to sort of help you along the honours pathway. And those coursework units will be assessed and comprise 25% of your mark. So a little bit more detail about the research project itself. It's a full-time research project worth 36 credit points, so 75% of the final mark, as I said. And we've said full-time because it really is a full-time commitment. That means doing your project typically Monday to Friday, every week, mostly from March till November. And that's something really to bear in mind if you do any external work to support your studies. And we understand Sydney is a really expensive city, and there aren't too many students that are lucky enough to just be a full-time student and not have to work to support themselves as well. But do bear in mind that any external work you do will have to fit around a full-time research project. And you'll need to be able to balance your external work and the research project without either your project or, more importantly, your mental health suffering. So bear that in mind when you speak to supervisors. Some projects will be more or less flexible with when you are required to be on campus to do the project. Some projects may occasionally require you to come in at the weekend. That's the nature of some of the experiments that are done. Animals don't tend to wait around for business hours to be looked after, for example. But those are conversations you should consider having with your prospective supervisors when thinking about a research project and how it will fit into your needs. So, mentioned there are two ways in which your research project will be assessed. Firstly, you'll submit an honours thesis, and that would be worth 80% of the research project mark. This is a 10,000 word maximum document, so probably the longest piece of work that you'll have ever created so far. It will be marked by two examiners who are not experts in your field, but qualified to know good research when they see it. And that will be due in November next year. For 20% of the research project mark will be assessed via an oral presentation. So this will be this will be done around 1 to 2 weeks after you submitted your thesis, and it takes the form of a 15-minute presentation where you give your talk all about your research project, basically. So the background to the project, the techniques you used, the key findings you discovered, and putting those findings into context in the wider scientific field and telling us about their significance. You'll notice that we also have a 10-minute question and answer session afterwards, and so nearly as long as the actual presentation itself. And the reason we have such an extended Q&A session is because we really want you to demonstrate that you know all about your project. Honours is not about being a robot or a workhorse and doing everything that the supervisor tells you, given minute instructions, but not giving any thought to the experiments you are doing. We really want you to be really intellectually involved in your project. And in fact, when you actually come up to do your oral presentation, at that point in time, you'll be the world expert in your specific research project because you'll be the only one who's actually seen it all the way through. And so that extended question and answer time is a time for you to really shine and demonstrate your knowledge and your background knowledge of the project and its significance. So coming on to the coursework section, so this is split into 2 units worth 6 credit points each. You'll do SOMS 4101 in the first honours semester, so semester 1, 2024, and then SOMS 4102 in the second honours semester. SOMS 4101 is called Research Skills for Medical Sciences, and it's coordinated by Dr. Najla Nasra. And this unit's been designed to help you acquire skills that are really going to complement you performing your research project from the get-go. So there are a number of modules, some are compulsory and some are which you pick, but they each are designed to sort of hone your skills in experimental design, scientific writing, analyzing, interpreting and presenting your data, problem solving, and working together as a team to come to a solution. This module will run in 2024 as a semester 1A unit, which means that the first day is on the 19th of February, and that therefore is the last day to enroll for SOMS 4101. So it's really important that you are aware of this. It's slightly earlier than the main semester starting date, and you must have which means two things. You must have your semester 2 2023 results back for all units by this date. So do bear that in mind. If you have any replacement exams, well, try to avoid having replacement exams, but it may be that you might have to delay entering honours if you don't have all your results back in time, because this is a compulsory unit that you have to do before you start honours. It's run in intensive mode, and every module that you have includes a face-to-face component. So if you're planning some time away over the summer break, which I thoroughly recommend, then you need to make sure that you're back in Sydney and ready for face-to-face work by the 19th of February. So this is an overview of the modules that are involved in SOMS 4101. So for weeks 1 to 3, you will choose one of those modules per week, and this should be done in consultation with your supervisor, because the modules you do will be led by their relevance to the project that you're actually going to be undertaking. So for example, if you have a genetics project that also involves looking at cells in culture and looking at protein expression in those cells, you might pick the PCR genomics module in week 1, the cell culture module in week 2, and the Western blotting proteomics module in week 3. In week 4, all these 4 modules are compulsory modules that are generally relevant to all research projects. So work health and safety, research integrity, giving you a foundation in statistical analysis for your project, and ethics, so going into ethical implications for animal and human research. I do note that if you're doing a project that involves animal work, you will also have to do the ITAR modules that are required for you to be added to the animal ethics approval, and that will be arranged separately with your supervisor. You can look to see more details about those modules at this website. As I'm talking right now, I don't think the website's been updated with the semester 1 2024 dates, but all the module information is the same basically, so you can still find out about those modules. So SOMS 4101, each module has a standard way of being assessed. You'll have pre-readings online with formative quizzes to test your knowledge of that required reading. Then you'll have between 10 to 14 hours of face-to-face teaching per week, either lecture seminars or practicals. You'll have in-class assessments, and each module leads to submitting a final lab report. There'll be a final in-class assessment in the 5th week. So the SOMS 4101 runs for 4 weeks, and then that 5th week, there'll be a final in-class assessment. All the assessments will be completed by the end of the 5th week, and you'll be able to commence your full-time research project from around about the 20th of March. So going on to SOMS 4102, this is the one that we will start in your second semester, and it's called Communicating Ideas in Biomedical Science and is run by Professor Andrew Harmon. This unit has been designed to really help you enhance your scientific communication, prepare you for your final oral presentation through a variety of written and oral presentations. So firstly, an oral presentation of your research, so similar to your finals honours talk, but this happens at the start of the second semester. So you may well not have very many results yet, but it's really a chance to get you to practice your presentation skills, get some feedback on delivery and effective communication of your findings, so that when you actually come to give your final honours talk, it's not the first time that you've stood up and presented in front of a large audience. That's 25% of the mark. Another 25% is given over to a poster presentation presented in conference style setting. And that's exactly what's happening outside right now for the semester 1 2023 students. And then 40% of your mark is given over to writing what's called a research project showcase. Now, this is where you will lay out the rationale for your project, the justification for the techniques you are going to use and your research plan, and most importantly, communicate the significance of why it is important to actually do this research. Now, if you become an academic research scientist, you will very often have to apply for grant funding, and being able to communicate the importance of your research and why it's so critical to do your research is an absolutely essential skill to be able to have. Lastly, there's 10% of this mark is given over to weekly seminar participation. So we have a range of seminars that are given all through the university at various different research centers and departments, where local, national, and international research scientists are invited to give a talk to tell us all about their latest research findings. So you really have access to world-class people talking about their world-class research. And to enable you to take advantage of this, we ask you to attend at least 15 of these seminars through the year and log those in a logbook, and you will be writing up 4 of them in a short report, including what questions you asked and how the speaker answered those. So what medical science research areas can you work on? We've got 10 honours areas, and University of Sydney students may recognise that each of the honours areas that we have aligns with a major that can be done within the School of Medical Sciences as part of your undergraduate degree. And which honours area you pick will be the area that appears on your testimonial when you complete honours. So I've gone through those disciplines before, so I won't mention them again. Basically, the honours programme is identical for each of those disciplines, with the small exception of medicinal chemistry. So medicinal chemistry, the coursework is identical, but just your thesis is just examined by the School of Chemistry rather than the School of Medical Sciences. So in order, as well as the different project honours disciplines that we have, we also have different styles of research that you can do. So we have projects available in basic research when you're looking at fundamental mechanisms, underlying diseases, clinical research, more data-based research, research in public health, epidemiology work, qualitative research, and allied health research, for example, physiotherapy or similar. So no matter what topic you're interested in and no matter what style of research you're interested in, we're almost certain to have something that will meet your needs. And where can I undertake my honours project? There are a number of locations that we have. So basically you can undertake your research at nearly every campus that we have at the Sydney Uni. So we have the Westmead Health Precinct in Western Sydney, consisting of a number of different hospitals and research institutes. Excuse me. So the Children's Hospital at Westmead, the CMRI, Westmead Institute for Medical Research, and many more. Obviously, you know all about the Central Camperdown campus because you're on it. And you know that we're near RPA, and we've got many world-leading research centres here, such as the Brain and Mind Centre and the Charles Perkins Centre, Centenary Institute, and others. And there are other locations that you can do your research. The ANZAC Research Institute, located at Concord Hospital, the Colling Research Institute, located at Royal North Shore, and the Safe Site Institute, located at Sydney Eye Hospital. So if you're looking to do your research in a particular location, then we've got a number of locations. One thing I wanted to reiterate is why we're so excited about the honours programme at the School of Medical Sciences. The fact is that you'll be working, the medical sciences are real health problems that affect real people. So if you're doing basic research, looking into the molecular biology underlying the pathogenesis of a particular disease, or translational research, where you're taking those basic research findings and using them to develop a drug or a device that might benefit people, or clinical research, where you're working with actual human participants who to understand their disease better, or help treat them even. The research you do has a real world impact. You also get the opportunity to do research of the highest quality here at SOMS. So this paper is a few years old now, but so it was published in Nature Communications, which is a pretty prestigious journal. And everyone outlined in red was a previous honours student for this research study. And their names are listed at the side here, and you'll see many of them went on to do PhDs, and one of them went to do a postdoc overseas. And just to point out that these green outlined names are international collaborators. So with this research, you can potentially be collaborating with world-class scientists internationally to create a really significant piece of research. So this is another example, another paper in the Journal of Neuroscience. Just wanted to point out this person here, these three are honours students. This person's contribution as an honours student was deemed so significant that their work was, they became first author on the paper, which is usually an indicator that their work was the bulk of the project. So it's just emphasizing that you've got the opportunity to really contribute to a significant body of work. And if you're thinking of doing a PhD after honours, then having co-authorship on a research paper is a huge asset for if you're applying for PhD scholarships. But we don't just expect you to be independent scientists from the get-go and throw you in at the deep end and say, there's a lab, have at it. Our program involves close supervision. So the primary supervisor you speak to, you will often meet with them weekly to discuss your project. And if they've got senior staff members in their lab, they may act as your on-the-ground supervisor, and then you'll see those people much more frequently. So you'll receive training in the techniques that you need to do the experiments. You'll do those experiments with some supervision, and then you might come back to your primary supervisor to discuss the results, maybe troubleshoot any problems that you may have had, and then discuss what needs to be done to change experiments that didn't work, or to build on experiments that did work with further experiments. And as you progress throughout the year, you'll find that you'll need less and less direct supervision as you grow in confidence, and soon you'll be doing these experiments yourself, but still you'll always be checking back in with your supervisor to guide you along the way. If you'd like to sign up, we also have a peer mentoring scheme. And so this is, if you register for this, you'll be paired with someone who's done honours really recently, and so has been there basically, and can really empathise with where you are in your research journey. They won't be connected directly with your research project, so they'll be outside your lab. but then they'll either be a PhD student or perhaps a research assistant who's done honours recently. And they're there to basically listen and offer advice and someone to really share your experience with. So your honours year will probably be a bit of a roller coaster. It will be enormously exciting. You're doing real research for the first time, and that's a real buzz. But there will be times where experiments go wrong, and that can be quite depressing, quite frankly, if things aren't going well. And so the peer mentor is basically just a kind ear to listen and to share your highs and lows of your projects. Talking about sharing your experience, there's the Honours Society that we have, and this is run by PhD students, but also honours students. So if you are keen to get involved in the leadership of this, then you're very welcome to. If you just want to take part in attend the events organised by the society, obviously that's a fantastic idea as well. There are various different events organised through the year, and they're really to give you a chance to meet all the students in your year, not just the ones in your research group or in your building or department. So talking of students, I've been talking for a long time now. So I thought it would be good for you to hear from a student who has done SOMS Honours very recently. She completed SOMS Honours in 2020, is that right? So Samantha Hefferon, and she's now a PhD candidate at the Colling Institute. So. Okay, and then all good?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sam, and of course, I'm a PhD student, and I work out at Colling Institute, which is the nice, pretty colourful building next to Royal North Shore Hospital, and I'm on level 10, which is the yellow floor. It's kind of an ugly mustard colour, really, but you get used to it. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about my experience as an honours student and where I am today. So pretty much I started my Bachelor of Medical Science back in 2017, obviously a 3-year degree. And then in 2020 was when I did my honours year. And then 2021, I went straight into doing my PhD, which is what I'm currently working on and about to submit close to the end of next year, ready for the future ahead. Yes, okay, that was empty slide. So basically, at the beginning of my course with my Bachelor of Medical Science, we were pretty much asked a little survey, maybe you were asked it as well, as to where you wanted to be in your future and why you're studying medical sciences or whatever degree you're studying. And like most people, pretty much majority of the cohort, I was one of those few who said I wanted to get into medicine. I wanted to have nothing to do with research, like being a doctor was where I wanted to be, and that was it. So for the first 2 years of my degree, I pretty much did have zero interest in research. I was like, no, not for me. But then by the end of, beginning of my 3rd year, I got introduced to different courseworks. So one of the subjects I did was Cell Path Advanced. And as part of that, it was a very small advanced cohort. There was only about 12 of us. And we actually got introduced to doing some research purely without the intention of being marked or graded as like an assessment style thing, but we got just to experience what it was like and get involved. And in line with that, I also got to talk to the unit coordinator of this and pretty much got sold on all the values of what research can do, not only in following through with a career of research, but also to benefit you as a person and help for getting into medicine as well. So it became something that I thought was valuable, even though I didn't really want to follow that research career. And it pretty much sold me on the idea that if I didn't get into medicine, doing honours was not just a filler year, which a lot of people do take that aspect, is that, oh, I just have to do honours and then wait until I get into medicine. I really decided like, no, I want to do this and I want to make the most of it while I was there. So part of the struggles is actually finding a project. You've probably got a lot more better put together resources than we did back in 2019 when it was a bit all over the place. So towards the end of semester 1, I was like, looking for different projects and none of them interested me. None of them were in the field I wanted. And I was like, no, not for me. I decided, second thoughts, maybe I won't actually do this. Then in my very well studying period during StuVac, right, leading up to exams, I decided to have a look again because I didn't want to study. And pretty much I decided to go down a different avenue and just looked at academic profiles on the university webpage and looked for different academics that were in fields that I was interested in, and then see if possibly there was a way to find a research project that wasn't necessarily advertised through the honours scheme. So that's just what I did. I found Elizabeth Clark is my supervisor, very interested in the field that she was working on, and she'd advertised like this summer project. So I'd actually reached out to her and said, I'm not looking for a summer project, I'm looking for an honours project. Is there something you can do? So we ended up meeting up and discussing, and I found that there was potential for a project for me, and it was definitely something I was very interested in and very passionate about. And we confirmed that I was both a good match for the project, but also for the lab group. So that's definitely something you need to consider as well, is how well you engage with not only your supervisor, but the other people in the group. So I got to meet a few of them while I was there, and we decided that we think it would work out. I mean, obviously, then you have to go and actually get approval, do all the professional, proper stuff as mentioned before. So just having a look at my journey through my honours project, pretty much my research was looking at the structural characterization of different tendons, looking at how they differ both within a tendon and between tendons. I utilise mostly histological techniques for this. And the intention is basically, I hope the research will further develop knowledge on what might be the underlying causes for different injury, disease, or pathology of tendons, and then help facilitate further research into ways to treat or manage this. In 2020, obviously, there was a big challenge that I was faced with during my honours, but that just helped to support exactly what the whole program is all about. So I did have to work from home a lot, and I definitely wanted to get the most out of it. So I went along, we were given the option to do like a purely literature review based honours, or try and stick with our lab stuff. And so I ended up taking a microscope home because I was like, I want to get the most out of this experience. I'll do as much lab or practical work as I could. And obviously I was pretty much solely on my own, alone in isolation. I did have contact with my supervisors and my lab group, but unlike when you're in the lab with them, you can't just walk up and say, hey, I'm a bit stuck on this, can you help me? You kind of had to like problem solve everything, because sometimes it would be a week or 2 weeks before they say, oh yeah, I can fit in a Zoom meeting, let's chat then. Like when you're in the lab, you can kind of just knock on the door and say, I need 2 minutes of your time, do you have it now? It's a lot more of a challenge doing it in isolation, but I think it definitely like built the experience up. So there's different elements that you can gain out of doing honours. So critical thinking is one of the things that I don't think I'd ever really done as an undergrad. You kind of just force-fed information and then you do assignments based on that. But then learning to think on my own and also develop my own ideas was probably one of the biggest things I got out of the experience. Also learning to collaborate with other people, not just peers, but other researchers, both from your lab group and from other lab groups. So we were very lucky that we had multiple lab groups on the same floor in similar fields, and so you could kind of talk to them and learn from them, understand their skills and expertise. Also making use of different collaboration networks, but also the resources available to you. And that was something that was definitely a valuable experience that I got learning to do that. Improving my communication skills as well. So I got obviously the opportunity to present both within the cohort, but also doing some conferences. Unfortunately, they were online conferences just because of the time and the year it was. But it was definitely something that is beneficial to you and definitely takes you to the next level than what you're exposed to as an undergrad. Learning to problem solve and troubleshoot. So research never goes to plan. It's still not going to plan. I'm still having trouble, but I'm using that to develop me further and keep progressing. And then obviously just enjoying the experience and getting the most out of it, both for you and also the research and the greater field as well. So a valuable thing about doing honours is it makes you stand out from other people who might not be going along that pathway. So it's one thing to consider is if you're trying to apply for jobs or maybe get into medicine or follow that research pathway, it makes you stand out as someone who didn't do honours or didn't partake in that research year as well. You become obviously very knowledgeable in that field, and it's something that you can then become pretty much the book that people refer to in terms of your research project. So you are the expert in that field now. And then you also set up with all the skills and knowledge and expertise you need in order to apply that to other applications, other fields, whatever it may be. So it's pretty much where I am now. I decided to continue on with my PhD, still working on the same projects. I had my honors project and I loved it so much that I was like, I just want to continue and do a PhD. Medicine is still my end goal, but I was like, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to keep working on the thing that I really loved. If I'd stopped, done medicine and come back to it, the project wouldn't still be there. So I decided to take up that opportunity. But also I got introduced through my networks as well into different academics who offered me tutoring roles, which was very valuable experience as well. And also at Colling Institute, we have the Sydney Clinical Skills and Simulation Centre, which is where they kind of do surgical training workshops for med students, as well as introduce new devices like device technologies, do representative like workshops for surgeons. So I'm now also involved in that through my connections that I got from starting honours and engaging with that research community. So my outlook on life before was obviously very woody, like I didn't want to be involved in research at all, but now it's definitely see the value of it. And it's definitely something that I recommend everyone should definitely consider. What you should think about before you do honours though is one, make sure you're looking into a field that is very interesting to you, but more importantly, make sure you find a project that you think is suited to you. If you're like, oh yeah, not so much, but I think I could do it, it's probably not the best attitude to go into it, because you have to put your whole effort into it for a whole year. And if you're not 100% invested, then it's going to be just a horrible time. Make sure you have clear goals as to what you want to get out of it. Like I said, don't do it just as a filler year if you're trying to get into medicine. It's not the right attitude to go into it. And a lot of supervisors, if you disclose that, oh yeah, I want to get into medicine and I don't really care about research, they're just not going to take you. I was very open with Liz when I signed up. She knew what my goals were and she helped formulate a project that would help me get there and help me improve my skill sets for that. And she introduced me to all those academic tutors, and that's the skills center in order to develop my academic profile and my professional profile. Understand your expectations. Obviously, you need to know what it entails to commence a whole year project, but also then make sure you are happy with the group as well. Not only do you need to enjoy the project that you're going to do, but you need to enjoy the people that you're going to be around, stuck with for a whole year, working, yeah, probably into all hours of the night sometimes. We had students there till like midnight, sometimes doing stuff, not me, totally. But anyway, thank you all for listening, and hopefully just a little bit of insight into personal experience that I had.
Thank you, Samantha. That's given us a really great insight and hopefully given you an insight into what it's like to be an honours student. And let's hope that it's not interrupted by a pandemic. I'm sure it won't be this time, but you did an amazing job. Okay, so we've talked all about the types of research projects there are and the locations you can do them in and the kind of experiences you might get out of it. But how do you actually go about finding a research project? So if you registered for this event on Eventbrite, hopefully you would have received an email informing you that giving you a link to our honours search tool, which is this web page here, and informing you that the project is that the portal's gone live with all the projects that will be available for semester 1 2024. In this portal, hopefully you've already had a bit of a play, but in case you haven't, you can search by text, by the title, if you already know the title, or keywords. If you are interested in a specific honours area, there's a drop-down box for you to select that. If you are interested in a particular lab location, you can select by that. And if there's a particular research scientist that you're really keen to work with, you can check to see if they're available in the list of primary supervisors and go from there. And then you click the search button. So once you've done that, you'll get a display with the list of projects that match the criteria you've selected. You can click this show detail toggle to enable you to view the synopsis. This gives you like a broad overview with the title and the primary supervisor and the auxiliary supervisors, honours area and the keywords. But if you click on this view details button, you'll come to a separate page where you've got a more detailed view. And so this more detailed view gives you the full detail of the project. So the project synopsis, briefly explaining what the project's about. This here is a live link that links to the supervisor's University of Sydney profile. And this is useful to get more of an idea of the background of the supervisor and the broad research that they undertake. This contact here also is live. You can click on this to email the primary supervisor. And then at the bottom, there are instructions to sort of tell you the order in which you need to do the various steps involved in applying. At the moment, we don't have the apply button live. That will go live on the 20th of September. But it's important that you do not click the apply button and submit a formal expression of interest until you have spoken to a primary supervisor and they have agreed to host you for the research project. So this is the first order of events, is that you're looking for a project. And then secondly, you need to discuss that research project with the supervisors. So this is something that students typically do for about 3 or 4 research projects. They'll have identified 3 to 4 projects of interest. If you've already had a look at the portal, that's great, and identified the primary supervisors for those projects that you're interested in. Take a quick look at the poster list and see if that supervisor has any students that are presenting today. And chat to the students and potentially also the supervisors if they're here at the poster session, the networking session that's happening after this information session. If you'd like to chat some more, or if the supervisor isn't here, please email the supervisor after this session, requesting a face-to-face or a Zoom meeting to discuss the project further. Be aware that many of the supervisors will have multiple students interested in their research project, and they can only take 1 student per research project that they're advertising. So treat these meetings like an interview and prepare properly for them accordingly. That's not to say that you should go and do a PubMed search on the supervisor and read 100 papers that the supervisor has co-authored, but it would be a good idea to go to their University of Sydney profile page to get a bit of background about them, and perhaps read a couple of their most recent papers that seem sort of most directly relevant to the project that you're interested in. Actually, at the meeting, ask them questions about their research and really get across to them why you actually want to do this project. A good thing to ask is maybe how what kind of techniques are used in the projects. If there are certain skills that you'd like to acquire during your honours year, it's a good idea to find out what kind of skills you are offered in each particular project. Ask them what a typical week might look like for a research project. That will usually differ as you go through the various different stages of your project, but it gives you some idea of what will be expected of you. So Samantha gave some really great tips about how to actually choose a research group, but just to sort of reiterate those really. So it's not just about the research project, although you really should, as Samantha say, pick a project that excites you, because you're going to be doing it for a long time. And if you pick something that you're equivocal about at the start, you're not going to enjoy yourself, basically. So pick a project that really excites you, and ideally it aligns with your major that you did in your undergraduate degree. It's not just about the project, but the research group is the research environment's important as well. So have a look to see if the research group's productive. Check to see if there are recent high quality publications on the supervisor's profile page. You can ask the supervisor what their former students are doing now, what they've gone on to do. And also, if you're able to, speak to current students in the group. And this is another reason why the poster session is such a great idea. You've got just over 100 current honours students there who all have supervisors, and many of those supervisors will also be offering projects in 2024. So this is a great time to chat to those students and ask them what the what it's like working in that lab. And you know, whether there are any other lab members that are available to sort of give guidance on their project. The second step is to lodge your expression of interest. So this is to be done only when you have confirmed support from an honours supervisor agreeing to host you for the project. Then you submit your formal expression of interest. And the reason I keep emphasizing this is that once you select the expression of interest, you can't select, once you apply for an expression of interest and it's accepted, you can't apply for another one. So the expression of interest is not to be your first contact with the supervisor. This is like giving the School of Medical Sciences, us, your formal notice that you're intending to apply to the university for this particular project. Anyway, so you'll be, again, you submit this expression of interest via the Honours Search tool, so that same portal webpage. You navigate to the project that you're interested in, and just to note that many of the projects are available under 2 or more honours areas. So, for example, this project here is identical apart from the different honours areas. So if you wanted to have your honours area be in neuroscience, you would click on this project. And if you wanted your honours area to be pathology instead, you would click on this project. Sorry, the deadline for submitting your expression of interest is the 15th of December, 2023. 2023. If you have decided which project you would like to do and the project supervisors is happy to host you, then you are welcome and indeed encouraged to submit your expression of interest as soon as you can. So once you clicked apply on that, clicked the project detail page, at the bottom of that page, you'll find these instructions that I talked to you about before. And then from the 20th of September, these buttons will apply here. So we've got one button for students who are currently at Sydney University or have recently been at Sydney University. And basically, if you know your uni key, then you use that button. If you're an external student, then you use this button. Now, please note that this is not an enrollment form. This isn't your application to enter honours. This is letting SOMs know that you are intending to apply. So it's an important step of the process, but it's not the end of the process. So when you click apply, if you clicked using your uni key, then most of your details will be pre-filled. If you're an external student, then the project information will be pre-filled and you'll just have to submit, fill in your student information. You'll also need to upload your academic transcript. Then at the bottom of the form, you'll need to select those SOMS 4101 modules for weeks 1 to 3. So this is where you, prior to submitting this EOI, you should be speaking to the supervisor, the primary supervisor of your project, to consult with them to ask them what modules they think are most relevant. It might be that they say, just choose whatever modules interest you, in which case you can just select what you like. But it's best to consult with them first. And then we've got a privacy statement, and then you click the submit button at the bottom of the application form. So once you've successfully clicked submit, you will get an acknowledgement that will pop up on the screen, letting you know that your expression of interest has been registered and giving this reference number. It's really important. Please write this reference number down. And it's because you should receive an acknowledgement email with letting you know that the application has been received. But if for any reason you don't receive that acknowledgement email, we need to know what the reference number is so that we can chase up with you. It might be that the wrong email address was entered, or potentially there's been some technical issue. But if you don't receive this acknowledgement email, then chances are that your EOI has not been submitted correctly, and we don't know that you want to do that project. So if you don't receive an acknowledgement email, please contact SOMS Honours with the reference number for your EOI. So then that EOI gets sent to the supervisor, and they'll click accept. And once the supervisor has accepted your EOI, you'll receive an email confirming your honours area that you're applying for. So in this one, the honours area is physiology, and the SOMS 4101 modules that you selected. In addition, there will be a PDF confirming the honours project supervision. And this is an important document that you'll need to upload when you complete your formal application for admission into the university. I talked about you're only able to submit one EOI. What happens if you change your mind? If you, for example, were very set on one project, but then things change and you decide you would prefer to do a different project, that does occasionally happen. Or, for example, your plans change completely and you realize actually you don't want to do honours next semester after all. You need to withdraw your EOI. And as I mentioned, once an EOI has been accepted, the project disappears from the portal. So in order for it to be released again, for other students to be able to search for it and take it up, you need to withdraw your EOI. So if you're an internal student, you will just navigate to that honours search portal again and click apply for any project, and then it will come up with this page showing you the EOIs that you've already applied for, and then you can just click this withdraw button. If you're an external student, so if you don't have the uni key, please email SOMS Honours with the reference number of your EOI and let them know that you would like to withdraw. So that's the EOI stage done. So step 4 is submitting your formal application for admission. So if you're enrolled in the 4-year combined BAS degree, you'll apply within Sydney Student. And then these are the 2 links. Almost all of you will be using, the majority of you will be using this one, the BSc Honours link. Only very few of you will be using the Bachelor of Medical Sciences link. So the deadline for submitting the application for admission to the uni for the BSc Honours is the 15th of January, and for the BAS it's late January. It will probably be the 30th of January. 2 main things to make sure is that you apply for the same honours area that you selected in the project, and that you attach your PDF confirmation of supervision. And so once you can and please do submit your application for entry into honours before you get your exam results back. You'll be given a conditional offer, and then once your exam results are released, the successful applicants will be given the unconditional offer, and that will then allow you to formally enroll into the honours project and the coursework units. And then step 5 is to start your project. So if you started this process super early, and you receive your unconditional offer and you're able to enroll early enough, you can actually start your research project from the 1st of February next year. So before SOMS 4101 starts. I note that any lab work that you do before this, maybe as an internship or a summer research scholarship, can't be included in the thesis. That's very important to stress, but anything from the 1st of February onwards can be. And then we've got SOMS 4101, and again, as I said, 20th of March, the research project commences for everybody. So I've been talking for a long time now. Thought we'd open the floor for questions to see if you've got any questions about the admissions process, how to find a research project. Any questions? Mark's there with a microphone.
So I just wanted to check, in a previous slide when you had the whole expression of interest and it said something about like Alexander Apt will be like, we'll get back to you within 1 week. Does that mean selection for a project is like largely contingent on speed. So for example, if someone applied earlier in like maybe in a week's time versus someone that applied in like 3 weeks' time, they're far more likely to get a position, and like supervisors don't have the option to evaluate between both of those people.
It probably depends on the supervisor. Supervisors aren't obliged to take the first student that approaches them. But typically, I guess if you're early in the system, if you're earlier on, contacting supervisors, you probably will have a greater choice. I certainly wouldn't recommend waiting until the beginning of December, for example, to start speaking to supervisors, because chances are a lot of the projects will already have been taken up by then. The portal, as I said, when expression of interest have been accepted by supervisor, the project then disappears from the portal. So any projects that you see at the time are technically still available, although it may be that a supervisor has received an expression of interest but is sitting on it. But yeah, just as you should, contact 3 to 4 supervisors, around that kind of amount, then, some supervisors will receive, 3 to 4 students who are interested in the same project. So, but it's up to the supervisors how they choose which student. But I guess for me, it would be enthusiasm and how well, what units they've done correspond to the background knowledge needed for my particular project.
I just had a question about if we were allowed to apply to honours in a different area than our major, if we could do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. If you were,
are we able to apply to different like majors like that are different to our major that we've already chosen, different areas?
You are able to apply as long as you're confident that your final WAM will be over 65. Then you're not obliged to apply for, say, a neuroscience project just because your major is in neuroscience. We do tend to encourage it because if you've done a major in neuroscience, then you've done a lot of neuroscience units and therefore more likely to get have a decent background in the project you're doing. But it's up to the supervisor whether they think that your background knowledge is sufficient. And so they'll be looking at your transcript to see what units you've done. But I would pick a project that interests you and that you feel that you do actually have enough background knowledge in. So for example, I'm a geneticist, and there isn't a genetics major in medical sciences, but I would, for example, look quite favorably on someone who's done quite a few genetics units.
Thank you.
There's a question over there.
Over there. The fitness.
You're running around.
Are we able to apply to other professors outside the listed projects? Like say they're quite interested in having you as a student and you've reached out to them and they want to have a formal meeting. Is there any way we can kind of apply maybe through a different way to get an honours project through that way?
So a project that's not on the portal? No, we don't tend to encourage that. Only in very rare circumstances do we accept projects that haven't already been approved. That's because we want to make sure that all the projects are of sufficient standard for an honours student to be able to undertake. And the approval process for, we don't let any old thing go through. I'm sure that anyone you'd be approaching would submit any old thing, but we have quite a lengthy approval process for approving the projects that supervisors propose. We need to ensure that they have ethics clearance and they have sufficient funding and all that kind of thing. So,
and in that small, did you say not everyone, but maybe there's a small acceptance sometimes? Is there any way that could happen? Like if you were in contact with someone?
We'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, but I certainly wouldn't pin on all your hopes on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any others? Oh, there's one over there.
What is the total number of projects available, and will some people like not be able to get a project?
There are more projects than we expect there to be students. So I think it's a bit tricky to work out because many projects are often in multiple honours areas, but that doesn't mean if a project's involved, the same project's offered in 2 honours areas, that doesn't mean it's 2 projects. I think it's roughly around 200 projects, just over 200 projects available. So we've never had a semester yet where we have run out of projects.
Is the coursework component of the honours, is that pass fail or is that marked like?
It's marked.
It's marked normally.
So the 2 coursework units together form 25% of your final mark.
Yeah, just to clarify one more time, we're not required to like unenroll from Bachelor of Advanced Studies, like to do honors, right?
No. You don't have to do that at all. No. So yeah, vast majority of students will go through into Bachelor of Advanced Studies because you've already got it in your 4th year.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to ask a question about the final week of the SOMs in first semester. You said that it was all mandatory, all the different modules, but I saw that all the modules were like, there's one in Camperdown, one in Westmead, for example. How does that work with all over the place?
I'm really sorry, I didn't quite catch
Sorry.
that. So that was all about locations?
Yeah, so with the final week in SOMs in of the first semester, I saw you said that they're all mandatory, all the modules in the final week. How does that work if they're all over Sydney, like one in Westmead, one in Camperdown? Like how does that happen?
It's timetabled so you can attend them all in person.
Okay, so it's like you just
Yeah,
one day you go somewhere else.
you're just going across different units.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
If I'm looking at like a few different postgraduate pathways, like say doing a master's, for example, I'm sort of tossing up with my options. Like I know that sometimes offers for that kind of thing don't come through until like December, January. Like, how does that work in terms of balancing, like expressing interest in projects versus waiting to hear back about like other like pathways? Like they might overlap and I'm not entirely sure how I would manage that if we have to do things by December.
If you are also applying to other things, I would just be upfront with the supervisor when you're applying, and it may be that you might have to wait, and the supervisor sort of accepts you later on in the expression of interest process. You do still have to meet those deadlines though, so you need your EOI in by the 15th of December, and you need your application in by the 15th of January. Oh, are you telling me it's 2:15?
You mentioned it was a conditional entry into the honors project until semester 2 results are out. Is that regarding the 65 WAM?
Is that
regarding the 65 WAM requirement? The conditional
regardless
offer?
of the pathway?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Because if you don't complete the requirements of your degree, then you won't be able to enter honors, basically. And you also need that final WAM to be above 65. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, we might leave it there. We're almost spot on time, 2:15. So we've got the poster networking session. So it goes from 2:15 to 3:30. It's split into 2 sessions. So session 1 will go until 2:50. And then at 2:50, the first crop of students will take their posters down and the second set of students will put their posters up. So the second session will run 2:55 to 3:30. Okay, thanks a lot.